Hi and welcome to Crochet with Siska. In today's video, we are going to be crocheting these beautiful baby girl booties that you can see here. So I did it in such a way that we have like this indentation in the sole. So you're going to have the two booties not looking exactly the same. So one is going to be for the right leg and one is going to be for the left leg. I'm using my locally made yarn here in Nigeria. It is called the Yeye Extra yarn, and I'll be using a 3mm hook for this tutorial. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Kindly click the subscribe button and click the bell so you get updates when I post new crochet tutorials. So let's get right into this video. So what I'm basically going to be doing for this sole is to sort of like crochet the opposite of what I have here when I get to my row 2. Okay, so whatever I'm going to crochet in this video, just do the opposite for the second bootie's leg. But if you don't want to do your sole like this, I'm going to tell you what to do so that the shoe can be worn either on the left or on the right leg. So the first thing I'm going to do is to start with my foundation chain, and I'm going to be chaining 13. So here is my first chain. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, 12, and 13. So now that I have my 13 chains, I'm going to move to the third chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to be doing 3 double crochet stitches in that chain. Okay, so here is my first double crochet stitch. I'm going to do the second in that same space and then do the third in that same space. After completing the 3 double crochet stitches in the third chain from the hook, I'm going to be doing a single double crochet stitch in the next 9 stitches. So here is my first double crochet stitch. I'm going to do 8 more to have a double crochet in 9 stitches. So after completing this, I'm going to move to the last stitch and I'll be doing 6 double crochet stitches in that same space. So here is the first one. I'll go on to do 5 more in order for me to have 6 double crochet in this last stitch. So after crocheting the 6 double crochet in this last stitch, what I'm going to do is to move across the double crochet, the single double crochet stitches that we did, and I'm going to be doing a double crochet stitch opposite each one. So what this means is that I'll be doing a single double crochet in 9 stitches. So here is my first double crochet stitch. I'll move to the next stitch and do another double crochet, and then go on to do 7 more in order to have a double crochet in 9 stitches. So after completing the 9th double crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is to come right back where I started, which is the third chain from the hook. I'm going to be doing 3 double crochet stitches in there. So here is the first one, right here is the second, and we have the third right here. And once we have that completed, what we are going to do next is to close off round 1 with a slip stitch right on top of the first double crochet stitch. So I'm going to come right there and do my slip stitch. And now that round 1 is completed, we are going to move to round 2 by chaining 1. We're not going to skip the stitch closest to the chain 1. Okay, so in that stitch close to that chain 1, what I'm going to do is to do 2 double crochet stitches in the next 3 stitches. So here is my first double crochet stitch. In that same space, I'm going to do another double crochet stitch, and then I'll move to the next stitch, do the same thing, 2 double crochet in that stitch, move to the third stitch, do 2 double crochet in that stitch. So after doing 2 double crochet in these 3 stitches, what I'm going to do is to move to the next stitch. I'm going to do a single double crochet stitch, and we're going to be doing this in a total of 8 stitches. So here is the first one. I'm going to do this 7 more times so we can have a single double crochet in 8 stitches. So now that I've completed the double crochet, a single double crochet in 8 stitches, what I'm going to do next is to do 2 double crochet in the next 8 stitches. So I move to the next stitch, do 1 double crochet stitch, and in that same space, I'm going to do another double crochet stitch. So I'm going to repeat this 7 more times so we can have 2 double crochet stitches in 8 stitches. Okay, so after completing the 2 double crochet in the 8 stitches, what I'm going to do next is to move to the next stitch. I'm going to do 1 double crochet stitch right there. Then I'll move to the next stitch and do a half double crochet stitch. Now I'm going to do this 6 more times so we can have a half double crochet in 7 stitches. So after completing the 7th half double crochet stitch, what I'm going to do next is to do 2 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So here is the first double crochet in the first stitch. I'm going to do another double crochet in that same stitch, then go on to repeat this 2 more times so we can have 2 double crochet in 3 stitches. And once I'm done completing the 2 double crochet in the 3 stitches, we are going to close off round 2 with a slip stitch. So we are going to do that right on top of the first double crochet stitch there. So I just do my slip stitch, and this is what we have for round 2. So here is the back, and right here is the front. So you can see that the indentation is sort of like right here. Okay, meanwhile this is going to be the outside of the shoe and this is going to be the inside. So I just want to show you what it looks like when I place them the way it is supposed to be. Okay, so I place it like this. I will go on to turn it so that you can see that the indentation is on these 2 sides. So can you see that it looks like one sole is for the right foot, the other sole is for the left foot. Now if you want to go on to have your soles looking the same, instead of doing a half double crochet stitch there, go on to do a double crochet stitch and you're going to have your sole looking symmetrical all around. For round 3, what we're going to do is chain 1. We're going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, which is right here. We're going to move to this stitch here, and what we're going to do is to do 2 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So like I said, I moved to the second stitch from the hook. Right here is the first stitch. Okay, here is the second stitch. I'm going to do a half double crochet stitch in there, and in that same space I'm going to do another half double crochet stitch. I'll go on to repeat this 2 more times, that's in the next 2 stitches, to have 2 half double crochet in 3 stitches. After doing the 2 half double crochet in these 3 stitches, what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch and we're going to do a double crochet stitch. I'm going to do this 16 more times in addition to this so that we can have a total of 17 double crochet stitches. So after completing the 17th stitch, what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch and I'm going to do 2 double crochet stitches in that same stitch. Okay, so here is the first one, and in that same stitch I'll do another double crochet stitch. I'll go on to repeat this 2 more times so I can have 2 double crochet in 3 stitches. Then I'll move to the next stitch and do 1 double crochet stitch. Go on to repeat this 16 more times in order for us to have a double crochet in 17 stitches. And after completing the 17th double crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch. I'm going to be doing 2 half double crochet stitches in that same space. Okay, so in that same space I'll do the second one and I'll go on to repeat this 2 more times so we have 2 half double crochet in 3 stitches. As we're done with round 3 and we need to close this off with a slip stitch, so I'll come right at the top of the half double crochet stitch here. So just look for that stitch and we are going to do our slip stitch to close off round 3. And in order to move to round 4, what we are going to do is chain 1. We're not going to skip the stitch close to chain 1, okay? But what we are going to be doing is a single crochet in the back loop only. All right, so I put my crochet hook into the stitch there. So I insert my hook right through the back loop into the stitch through the back loop. I'm going to pull my yarn through and do my first single crochet stitch. Then I'll move to the next stitch and repeat the same thing. So right here is my second single crochet stitch. I'll go on to repeat this 50 more times because we're going to be doing a total of 52 single crochet stitches in the back loop only for round 4. So after round 3, your sole should be measuring around 4 inches for a 3 to 6 months old baby. So after completing the 52 single crochet stitches for round 4 in the back loop only, what we're going to do is to come right at the top of the first single crochet stitch and we are going to do our slip stitch right there. Okay, so I'm just going to come right there and do my slip stitch, and we're going to begin round 5 by chaining 1. So round 5 is basically what we have for round 4. We're not going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, but what is different for round 5 is that we're going to be going through the front and back loop. Okay, round 4 is in the back loop only. Round 5 will be across both front and back loop. So what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch right after the chain 1. I'm going to pull my yarn through and do my first single crochet stitch, move to the next stitch, do the second single crochet stitch. So I'm going to repeat this 50 more times so we can have a total of 52 single crochet stitches for round 5. So after completing the 52nd single crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is to come right at the top of the single crochet stitch here. We're going to close off round 5 with a slip stitch. Okay, so this is it right here. Round 5 is completed. So the next thing we're going to do is to move to round 6, and what we are going to do right now is to chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. We're not going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1. Okay, what we're going to do is to do 16 single crochet stitches. So I enter into that stitch close to the chain 1. Here is my first single crochet stitch. I'll go on to do this 15 more times in order for us to have a single crochet stitch in 16 stitches. So after the 16th single crochet stitch, what we're going to do is to do 10 double crochet decrease. So this is how to do it. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull my yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull my yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 3 loops. So this is basically combining 2 double crochet stitches in one. I'm going to repeat this again. So I yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull my yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull my yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the 3 loops. So I'm going to repeat this 8 more times in order for us to have 10 double crochet decrease. So now that I've completed my 10 double crochet decrease, what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet stitch. Then I'm going to do 15 more in order for us to have a single crochet in 16 stitches. So here is my 16th single crochet. I'm going to come right at the top of the first single crochet stitch here, and I'm going to do a slip stitch to close off my round 6. So right here is my slip stitch. What we're going to do next is to move to round 7 by chaining 1. We're going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, which is right here. Okay, we're going to skip this stitch, move to the next stitch, and we're going to begin to do single crochet stitches for the next 14 stitches. So here's the first one. I'm going to do 13 more so we can have 14 single crochet stitches. So right after the 14th stitch, we're going to begin to do a double crochet decrease to a total of 6. Okay, so right here is my first double crochet decrease. I'm going to repeat this 5 more times in order for us to have a total of 6 double crochet decrease. So after completing the 6 double crochet decrease, this is what we have. And what we're going to do is to move to the next stitch. We're going to do a single crochet stitch in there. Okay, and then I'm going to do 13 more to have a total of 14 single crochet stitches. After completing the 14th single crochet stitch, this is what we have. You will notice that there is a bit of a gap here. Do not mind that gap. What we're going to do is move to the top of the first single crochet stitch, which is right here, and we're going to do our slip stitch. So you would notice that your shoe inside will sort of like be a little bit curved. So you know that your foot at the back is not flat, okay? Neither is a baby's. So this part is sort of going to cup the heel of the baby. So this is actually okay. And the shoe is not going to slip out of the foot very easily. So after doing the slip stitch, what we're going to do is chain 1. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, and then I move to the next stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet stitch, and we're going to do single crochet stitches in the next 12 stitches to come to a total of 13 single crochet stitches. So after completing the 13th single crochet stitch, we're going to do slip stitches in the next 7 stitches. So here is my first slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I move to the next stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet stitch, and then I do single crochet stitches in the next 12 stitches to make it a total of 13 single crochet stitches. So after doing the 13th single crochet stitch, What we're going to do next is to do a slip stitch. Okay, so I'm going to come right at the top of the single crochet stitch here, and we're going to do the slip stitch. So like I said, even though you're having a gap here, just ignore it and do your slip stitch, as that is going to help with wearing the shoe. Okay, the curve that you're going to get right there. So here is my slip stitch, and then I'll go on to cut my yarn, pull my yarn through like this, and you can decide to hide your yarn right now, or you hide it while we are doing row 9 or round 9. So for round 9, we're going to count 9 stitches after the slip stitch. Here is my slip stitch: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So I inserted my hook into the 9th stitch, which I counted right after the slip stitch at the back. What I'm going to do is to pull my yarn through, and then I'm going to chain 1. And what I'm going to do is move to the next stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet stitch there, and I'll be doing single crochet stitches in the next 15 stitches, so we can have a total of 16 single crochet stitch. And we're going to make sure to skip the slip stitch at the back. Don't do any stitch in that slip stitch. Once you do a single crochet in this stitch, skip the slip stitch and move to the next stitch right here and do your single crochet stitch to a total of 16. So right after the single crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is to do a slip stitch in the next stitch. Okay, so I'm going to put my crochet hook in the next stitch, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. Then I'll turn my work. Here is my slip stitch. I skip the stitch right after the slip stitch, and I'm going to move to the next stitch, so basically the 3rd stitch from your hook, and I'm going to do a single crochet stitch right there. Okay, and then I'll do 12 more single crochet stitches to have a total of 13 single crochet stitches. So we have done 13 single crochet stitches here. I'm going to skip this stitch right after, come to the next stitch. What I'm going to do is to do a slip stitch. We're closing off this row, and then where we started our chain 1, I'm going to go right there and do another slip stitch, and then I cut my yarn and pull my yarn through. So I'll go on to hide this yarn later on. So what we want to do next is to do the shoe tie. So we're going to come right here, right at this edge here. Okay, I'm going to insert my hook where we started our stitches. So what I'm going to do is pull my yarn through like so, and I'll begin to chain from there. I'll be doing a total of 40 chains. So I've done my first chain, 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 to a total of 40. And after doing the 40th chain, I'm going to cut my yarn, pull my yarn through, and we are going to be doing a double knot right around this the edge of the shoe tie, just like what we have here. So here's my first knot. I'll go on to do another one right there. Okay, so here is my second knot, and I'll go on to cut this part out. I'm going to repeat this same thing for this other side. Okay, where we did our slip stitch, I'm going to do another shoe tie to a chain of 40, do the double knot right at the edge, go on to hide the rest of this yarn, and we are done with our baby girl booties. So here is our finished baby girl booties. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, kindly give us a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell so you get updates when I post new crochet tutorials, and I'm going to be seeing you in my next video. Bye.